Hi.
This evening, Alan's going to share from the Galactics why uh, um, schizophrenia is a gift. This was a special request.
All right. All right. If we may. If we may. Thank you, Marla. One moment. The idea is, when it comes to the idea of what you call, as we've discussed before, any illness or condition, there is always a reason for its existence. Now, one could say, to some degree, there are some things which just seem to simply happen, and perhaps there is no real rhyme or reason, unfortunately, and unfortunately, things do happen sometimes. But the vast majority of the time, there is an element of conscious choice and awareness, and basically, the vast majority of everything is a choice. Now, when it comes to the idea, again, of a mental illness, or what you might call schizophrenia, this is a rather unique and what we consider to be a very special, interesting condition. And we see it, if we may, as much of a gift as anything else, as anyone might be gifted musically or artistically or have a special talent. For you see, what is happening mechanically, if we may, the person who, shall we say, experiences this idea of this diagnosis, that individual is able to, in a manner of speaking, shift much more consciously, readily, and awarely, with great awareness, between potential parallel realities and timelines and lifetimes. So, what happens many times is the person is in their mind, in their imagination, in their reality, constantly shifting from parallel reality at a much different rate than the, shall we say, typical human or the other beings who do not experience this, shall we say, condition or gift. We prefer gift, however. So this is what's happening mechanically is the person is gifted in this way. They are able to see many times, not all, but many, many times, a very unique perspective. By and large, they're coming from somewhere between, generally between the sixth and 11th, 12th dimension, which you all are, of course, but them more, not them, excuse me, those who experience this gift are doing this much more actively and with some degree of awareness, but difficulty explaining what is transpiring in their mind, in their experience, in their idea of reality. So many times people will be diagnosed, and again, it gets tricky because certainly from a certain perspective, the symptoms can be tricky and can be somewhat anxiety provoking from time to time because they are trying to fit in on Earth in a dimension where, by and large, they're simply, shall we say, capable of much more, capable and aware of much more potential. And they find this dimension rather limiting, as many of you do. However, this is what leads to many of the symptoms, the difficulty with speech sometimes, and thoughts become quite tangential and, shall we say, just a little bit different than other people's speech. But generally speaking, again, in general, the person is actually experiencing a rate of an earthly experience which is much greater than the individual who does not experience this. And we hope this helps in some way. We consider this to be a great gift. Now, we believe part of the question was, is there a cure? And the way that you
Correct.
think of a cure.
But if it's a gift, why do we need a cure?
Very good. We understand what is meant by the question, but excellent. Thank you, Marla. That's an excellent thought because, and I appreciate you raising this point because it's not really from our perspective. We do understand the question. We do understand. However, from our perspective, we do see it as a gift. That being said, we understand the idea of a cure. There certainly are techniques and medications and herbal supplements which can help greatly One moment. It can be so individualized, however, that one would have to try sort of different herbs. We don't necessarily see one in particular that might help. One moment. But certainly, if one is willing to explore potential herbal remedies to assist with what you call symptoms, what you call, we know the doctors want you to focus on this reality, and you know there is really no such thing as this reality. And many times you do your best to focus, and we have explained before, and the gentleman who was kind enough to ask this question, he may recall this permission slip we have given before of making a figure eight with your finger or in your mind, imagining the figure eight, the sideways eight, which is the symbol for infinity, many, many times. This can imagining the sideways eight, the infinity loop. This can focusing on this shape and this frequency can assist greatly with focusing more on what they like to call reality or the moment or the now. We think the other part of the question, if we may, Marla, the other part of the question was about is there essentially a, shall we say, a pill or medication or device which will essentially or could essentially give someone great powers and healing powers and amazing pill to sort of fix everything. Again, unfortunately, you see, there. One moment. There will be, there will be, in the way that you think of the future and the not too distant future, these kinds of medications will be more readily available. Some of them, many of them will be over the counter. Some may still be by prescription for some time. But by and large, let us say within the next 5 to 7 years, one moment, certainly within the next 10 years, there will be the idea of such a pill, shall we say, a treatment, a medication. It may be in liquid form, it may be in pill form. It may come in the idea of what has been called a med bed. For those of you who have heard of the med bed, there are also crystalline chambers. There are many things coming very soon. However, there will be, most likely within the next decade, probably decade at the most, potentially as soon as 5 years, 3 to 5 years at the earliest, many more products, which will be far and above most of your over the counter products at this time. We hope this helps. Did you have anything else, Marla?
No.
All right, we thank you. And we thank you for your question.
Welcome.